Yeah, everyone, this is Thermites, and this is Weekly Shonen Jump for the week of November 29th, 2020. On the cover, we've got Jujutsu Kaisen, we got Yuji, we've got someone else who I assume is probably the big bad right now. The coloring in this is really nice. Like, ah, it's so bold, and I really like the contrast between the red and the purple. Like, this is definitely a Jump cover that would make me pick up Jump, turn the page, and immediately start reading Jujutsu Kaisen. I mean, like, if I was already into it, I guess. This isn't quite at the level of a cover where, not knowing anything about the series, I would pick it up and immediately start reading it. Like, it's not there yet. But it is a very hype cover. Uh, where is Luffy's journey right now? On Viz, he is at Donut Race. Okay, so yeah, this is the Davy back fight. It's cool. They're plodding steadily along. Also, they're at like 300. I mean, they have like a month left, right? Depending on when exactly we get to chapter 1000. We are at the very start of December when I'm recording this. It would take 3 chapters to get there. Oda's schedule is either like, 3 on, 1 off, or 2 on, 2 off, depending on how he's doing. So it is possible for One Piece to get to chapter 1000 this year, but at the same time, like, it won't? Okay, nice. Good dog. I want that really nice 3D pop-up color page for chapter 1000s. If there's anything I want, it is that. It's gonna be a bad reaction from me because my computer screen cannot pop open in 3D. But I think that would be super dope. I can't think of any other Jump series that has done something like that. So that is my guess for what chapter 1000 is going to be, or what's the color page for chapter 1000 is going to be. I don't know what chapter 1000 itself is going to be based on where we are right now in One Piece. Like, I mean, they could really do a flip at any point. Wano's at that point right now where any chapter could either be we're just moving stuff along, or a big old drop of super important stuff. Doesn't quite feel like we're heading into a flashback though. But then again, it's One Piece. Literally anything can happen at any time. Now that's enough about One Piece. Let us move on to Black Clover, chapter 273. Okay, so we're sticking with the Dark Triad, or like we're moving to the Dark Triad. Why does every evil group have a science man? Like, it's weird because Black Clover is mostly like there are 1 or 2 big scientists, and it is weird that like every villain group has one. I mean, to be fair, like I guess I am thinking of like the elves, or the cult that was bringing about the elves, and then these guys. I guess there's not a third, so I'm not. Why am I acting like this is a pattern? I mean, with the did we see science stuff in the Diamond Kingdom? I'm thinking of boy who has the grimoire that is 2 grimoires like stitched together. But did we get like a flashback with tubes and stuff? Because I feel I can't name a third time we've seen the super like very scientific looking stuff, like a very labby lab. But I feel like we've seen it more than just the 2 times I mentioned. Wait, what was the Candelo? Oh, okay, never mind, I got it. It was the thing that Asta blew up after the time skip. Yeah, because that was, harvesting magic from commoners. So yeah, that makes sense. Okay. I mean, this is also conservation of scientific power. In that, like, the Dark Triad doesn't have, like, it's not like the Spade Kingdom has a third science boy. It is, like, the stuff we saw in the Diamond Kingdom, presumably the Stitch Up Grimoire, like, all that stuff is this guy. Like, I'm hoping Yuki Tabata does something interesting with this. Because right now, like, this does feel very, like, mashup shonen. It does feel like I really want to do the healing tanks from Dragon Ball Z, or, from all sorts of other shonen series. Whereas, like, I would personally like it more if Black Clover stuck to a more, like, it's all very magical, it's all very mystical, it's all, like, if there's not a normal trope for how this should work in a magic world, I'll figure it out. But at the same time, like, I can't knock it. Like, this stuff is cool for a reason. This is, real bad in all sorts of ways. I mean, I guess this is probably the first of the big demon boys that they're breaking out. Yeah, because we got Yami over here. We have presumably the captain of the Golden Dawn, William. Like, they're facing each other. They're making the evil Kippeloth. Oh, I really thought we were going to hang here a bit longer. I mean, I don't think Yami's going to be able to break out at all. Like, I think it would take away from the rescue mission if he managed to also find a way to break out, get William out, and then, like he meets with the rescue group in the middle. I think it should be a full-on. He can't do anything. He has to just sit there and suffer. Maybe we'll get his backstory, and then like we'll have the big liberation moment of the Black Bulls coming in and actually managing to save Yami, and like all the trust and faith he's put into them is now being repaid. Oh, what does this union form look like? Come on! Oh, we don't get to see it? Oh, that sucks. I mean, you can't just show us the eye and then, I mean, like, this is interesting. Like, his shoulder is more armory looking, and it's got sort of the same pattern as his bandana. It's a little hint. Okay. I didn't fully catch that in the, 5 seconds ago when I first reacted to it. Okay, so we're getting a little bit. There's a tiny little hint. There's enough to make fan art of. Oh, wait, what? Okay. Right. Yeah, I didn't like I'm sure he brought it up beforehand, but yeah, shadow magic doesn't have substance. Like you can't like anti-magic doesn't work on the shadows because the shadows aren't a thing, quote unquote. And plus we've never seen him erase a mana zone. I wonder if Asta can do a anti-mana zone. Like in the same like because that does seem to be the next stage of everyone's like strength is being able to maintain a mana zone and then use that to, be much stronger, be more durable within this pocket of space. So being able to pop that would be a great leveling move, especially if he can maintain his own while also negating other people's. Oh boy, Wolfie Boy is really freaking out over here. I mean, fair enough. Like, if you are made out of magic and someone negates your entire arm, like, that is you losing your arm. And yeah, fair. Which is also a good reason why we didn't get to see it. Like, if it was literally his eye changed, he unioned up, he was able to, like, deliver one blow, and as he was doing it, it was already falling apart. Like, that means that if we see him properly do it later on, it will be, like, the first time he's done it. Or, I mean, based on the flow of this conversation, it seems more like they're going to stay here and just keep on training until they can hold it for, like, a consistent amount of time, and then they'll go out. But they don't have time for that. Like, it's been 3 days. Like, how much more training can they do? They don't have a hyperbolic time chamber. You were born without magic. By accident, you were possessed by a devil and toyed with by unforgiving fates. But you were always right. I said that people who were right weren't necessarily rewarded. However, I would like them to be. Okay, so that is where he's coming down on this. So for this whole arc, I have been, like, the big question has been, does he see Asta as right? His thought process is, like, if sometimes good people do bad things, and that is unforgivable. You should be able to be a good person and never do anything wrong ever. Like, it is this unbelievably high ideal. And up to this point, like, I would have said that Asta's never done anything wrong, but at the same time, the Black Bulls are all misfits, and Asta is rude sometimes, he's a bit belligerent sometimes. I wasn't sure on what scale Noct was judging him. So I'm really glad that before they go and do the big invasion, like, Noct is saying straight up, I do think you were always right, like, ever since I first started looking at you. And even if the world says, that, your good deeds should not be rewarded, I'm going to make that right. Like, I will be the balance. Okay. If they hit me with that, I'm dead. Also, like, if he's here, it makes sense because he has the pack ability. He can, make a whole bunch of bodies for the two of them to train with. And that means that when Noct shows up and, does cool stuff while they're holding out for Asta, we should be able to see all of his other abilities without him having to, like, we won't have to explain, like, why doesn't he use Wolf? Like, it is really good. Like, this is an intentional handicap that also allows us to see the rest of his powers, which I'm very down for. Oh, this strike force looks so good. General's really sweating back there. I mean, not a whole lot of time has passed, so I understand, like, why the strike force is like this. But boy, oh boy. Like, if there's any breathing room after this arc, the Clover Kingdom really has to start recruiting new recruits. Like, there needs to be an entire new generation of Magic Knights right now. Because all the strike forces are just all of the captains. Because they're, A, the only ones still alive. And B, the only ones strong enough to really do anything in most of these conflicts. I mean, it's the problem in so many series. Of, like, we're going to create, like, military divisions, and we're going to show you all the heads, and then only the heads are going to get to do anything, because we don't want to, like, have to explore all the rank and file, or make the rank and file as strong as the heads, or explain, like, if the heads are so much more powerful than the rank and file, why aren't they doing this? Okay, I am hype. Black Clover chapter 273 is good. It, of course, gets the ultimate Uncontested rank. Ah, Black Clover, you special, special dog. Someday, a series will start and it will have the letter A at the very start, and then I can put it before Black Clover. But until then, or I guess a series that starts with B that is also like a BA or BB or BC, there's actually quite a bit of wiggle room there. Also, I mean, I say that as if the pre-recordeds are all in alphabetical order, but it is Black Clover. We never learn me and Roboco, which is not alphabetical, so never mind. I guess I can do whatever I want if I feel like it. And with that, I will do what I want and move on to We Never Learn, chapter 184, The Queen of Thin Ice, part 7. So Yuiga has found a way to get Sensei out there to have her experience a school festival as if she is, actively participating in it. But this isn't that dissimilar to her just, being swept up in the festivities the way she was back when she was, or, back a few years ago when she was still a teacher, but he wasn't. This narration feels, it's not that important, but at the same time, like, it is wild that we are this far in. We are near the end of the series, and yet this is still a chapter where, if you've not read any other parts of the series, you could, like, this narration does encompass everything you need to know about this exact setting right now. It is, like, it's just insane to me to think that this is the 5th of 5, very big endgame arcs, and we are on part 7 of that 5th arc. And you can still jump in and just read it, and you'll basically be fine. Like, you're not going to have as much pathos, I assume, but still. And her outlook has changed so much. Like, it is that hard shift of, like, I don't get it, and then she just looks around and she gets it. Okay, so he's got to be planning something else. It can't just be the fireworks, right? Oh! Wait, how? Okay, I mean, to be fair, like, this is public record, and he does work at their school, and she went to the same school. So I guess there's no reason why he couldn't have, like, gone back and looked at a yearbook and called everyone up. Or, like, found one person that said, like, hey, have you kept in touch with anyone else? Oh, man. So the big question then is, can you crack the ice now? Because it is different ice. Like, it is no longer the super, like, I've known these people for so long, but I can't take that one step. Now it is, like, even thicker in the sense that they haven't seen each other in so long. But at the same time, like, I do find it a lot easier to reach out and talk to my former teachers or my former students, or not my former students. I did have former students for a little bit, actually. I've never talked about that one on YouTube. I'll save that for later. But, like, just generally people that I have associated with, I do find it so much easier to talk to them if I see them in the city, like, pre-COVID especially. Now I will definitely, like, turn away if I recognize someone because I don't want to, like, stand near them, and like, it's way worse now. But pre-COVID, it did strike me as incredibly cool that I could just see people who I would have never talked to in university, especially, and just talk to them, and they would treat me like an adult, and I could treat them like an adult, and it was just fine. Back in the day, you were always busy, so it was hard to approach you. And yeah, like, they do still see her as, I mean, that is the magic of meeting someone from when you were going to school. Like, you are simultaneously a complete unknown and also that person from 10 years ago. Like, they know nothing about the intervening 10 years most of the time. Oh, the time capsule. Okay, like, even that is coming back. I mean, I wasn't thinking about that because she wasn't a part of that time capsule, and I didn't expect that these characters would come back ever. But okay, that's, Taishi. And even here, she was going to reject them. Huh. Did she write that? Oh my god, that's so sweet. So it is a, like, they made it without knowing that she was even there, like, without knowing that she tried to approach them and then ran away. They still decided to write this for her. It's a love confession, holy crap. I do appreciate, like, Viz is pretty strapped when it comes to the resources from what I've heard from the Viz's official Shonen Jump podcast. But I am glad that they, at the very least, changed up the fonts here. Like, I'm hoping for the volume release, they, like, go in and maybe, like, have some actual handwriting in there, so it feels a little more real, but even this, like, this is pretty good. Okay. And he is retracting that, which I didn't even think that was bad advice, necessarily. Like, the whole, you won't know if you're making a mistake until it's over. If and when you read this, and you're still worrying about something all on your own, please first have a look around. She looks around, she sees her classmates, she sees Otsuko Hino. Weird poll. We really brought back everyone. I can't believe his only line in like every time we've seen him, it is just "I'm the boyfriend." He has so nothing energy, or rather, like because he has nothing energy, that itself makes him distinctive. Like the joke is just he has a very trendy girlfriend who struggled in order to ask him out, but he is so nothing. And it's not too late for her to break the ice. Like, this is such a cool way also to give her closure on a character who is long dead. Like, to know that just due to the way, like, he did die pretty unexpectedly, and like they weren't like actively talking to each other before he died. So it is a big like there's no reason why like it doesn't feel like a plot hole that he never just told her this. Like this was the last time that he could have done it. Plus there is the ease of communication that comes through writing or typing. Like it can be very hard. I do struggle a lot when I'm typing, but at the same time, I do find it a lot easier to more accurately get across what I am feeling if I can type it out, because I am simultaneously communicating and also like editing my own communication. So I can see things like I can go through it as if I were an anonymous person or the person who I'm typing to, and I can catch the misunderstandings that might arise and then try to fix them in post, which also doesn't work always. Sometimes I just make more mistakes. But I like this is the kind of thing that I don't think I could ever say to like an underclassman or to a student, but I could definitely write it. Oh, and we're even going back to this festival, the first of the three that we can think about in reference to this arc. God, he's so cute. If Taishi ever does another series, I really want it to be some sort of like the 10-year-olds like baseball series or like just a sports series or something. He is so phenomenally good at drawing like little characters, like drawing children in a way where it is like he knows how to emphasize the cute and the wholesome in a way that's like I've seen my fair share of Moe Blobs, and he does have a Moe Blob energy to him, but at the same time, I think all of his Moe Blobs are very distinct. Like, there's just a very appealing way that he can do it. And I would say, like, his girls, which are, like, the pull for We Never Learn, I don't think they're as cute. Like, he does have to balance them out with, the big funny expressions and the big, like, shock faces and whatnot. Whereas the kids, I think the kids don't really need to be balanced, because when they have a big expression, he kind of just goes the opposite direction and just turns their entire head into the expression. Like, it's so expressive. Whereas his more adult characters have a little more going on, and he has to balance, like, the slightly more detail. Also, I think he's got a problem with cheeks sometimes, or, like, the spacing of the eyes relative to everything else, where it looks too blobby, whereas, like, the kids never look blobby. Like, you never run into the K-On! Problem that's, like, the 5 frames in all of K-On! That get reposted over and over again, where it's like, oh, this is a frame of K-On! That isn't perfect. What is up with this? They're so blobby. Taishi never has that problem with kid characters, but he does definitely have it with teenagers and with adults. Also, that is so fucking like I didn't think about it until right now. They didn't know each other, and he said all of that. Jesus. Like, I'm glad that this is the arc where he's fulfilling that promise. But man, that is so irresponsible. But I mean, I guess that is the spirit of shonen in a way. Like, you can't be responsible and embody the shonen spirit at the same time. There has to be an element of recklessness to what I personally consider to be shonen. Like, even if it all works out, I think it is vital to have that energy of, I can't back up what I am saying right now, but I will. Like, it isn't guaranteed, and that is, that is the struggle. That is what the bad guy is going to try and exploit. That is what I'm going to have to overcome. The enormous gap between what I'm promising and what I will do. Between saying, hey, I'm a little kid, I'm gonna get the One Piece, and actually getting the One Piece. And this collage is so strong! Time and time again, time and time again, time and time again. Like, it is so wild. And I think this really helps because, like, Kirisu does have some arcs in which she, is there as one of the girls with the others, but even then, she's usually, like, off to the side. It is usually, like, all of the students are doing X, Kirisu is also doing Y. And I think this collage really, this collage and this arc works so well because of that separation. Because when it is her and Yuiga, it is her and Yuiga. Whereas a lot of the other girls have the problem of like their romantic arc is tied into the fact that this is a harem series. Like it's very hard to separate those. Whereas with Sensei and Yuiga together, like it always feels like the other girls are just students to both of them. Like he is there in a slightly higher role as the person who is taking care of them and helping them achieve their dreams. Sensei is there as the person who just wants them to be successful, even if that means destroying their dreams. They're both trying to change these other characters, but they are on a different level from those characters. And I think this collage really hammers that home. That and also, like, we get to see so many immature Kirisu faces here, which I think also really makes it feel like there wasn't really that much of an age gap. Like, there wasn't. But also, like, seeing the way in which they interplay really breaks down any problems I had about the fact that she was a teacher, he was a student. Like, they're both teachers now. They're both reasonable adults. They can do this. And, like, this is also not a creepy, like, I manipulated all your friends in order to, like, do this big bombshell thing. Like, it does make sense as him acknowledging that, like, that there's this big thing that really hurt her in her past, and she thinks of it as just, like, a thing that can't be changed. Like, it's not possible. It is just the way it has to be forever. And this is Yuiga saying, no, it doesn't. Even if you can't change this, I can. Even if it seems absolutely insane, I will give you a high school memory, and I will fix that high school memory from the past. That irreparable, time in which you destroyed your relationship with your friends, or so you thought. If I were my dad, I wouldn't let them bury a time capsule that didn't include you. Like, that is such an ultimate... Because that is also him embodying his dad to the maximum degree without it being a creepy, like, I want to date you because you remind me of your dad. This is a strong, like, just, his dad was a good person, he's no longer here, and this is Yuiga just believing that if he learned anything from his father, if they are at all similar, then there is no way in hell that this time capsule would hurt Sensei. And in contrast to the first and second times, first time, they weren't really taking it seriously. Second time, like, it was, like, it was the big events. But even that is, chronologically tainted by the fact that up to this point, we have seen 4 different ways that happens. This is the purest, revisiting the festival moment for the two of them. And it is one in which they are looking away from the fireworks. Like, she's barely touching. It's just a finger. But she's, like, the ice is finally cracking. She is finally admitting it. And we're so close to the end of this arc. I think we have enough time for an epilogue. But it really depends on how long this final volume is. Or if this is the final volume. We know this is the final arc. There could be more volume content. I don't know how I feel about that one. But it does, like, I'm so curious. I really hope this is if this is the final arc and the final volume, I hope the next chapter or 2 chapters are very good. If we get more afterwards, I would like a full epilogue for all of these, for everything. I also think, because of the way that this ending chronologically moves, every bit of it is Yuiga when he's a little bit older. It would make a lot of sense if the final chapter is a time skip. If it is we're going to jump 10 more years, and now we have actual, not manly Yuiga, I think that'd be too weird, but a more adult teacher Yuiga and a more adult teacher Sensei. So we can also extinguish the, what remains of the weirdness of their age gap. I think that'd be pretty cool. I don't know what Taishi or his assistants were trying to do with this fold here in the skirts. That's weird. I was about to say, I'm really glad that we didn't get Taishi's ass man didn't have to do any work in this arc, or in this chapter. He did a lot of work in this arc. But I don't know what this fold is. I feel like this would have been a lot better if it was just flats. Anyways, that's We Never Learn. It handily tops Black Clover this week. I mean, yeah, there's no question about it. I do think, for the other arcs, I've been, kind of hit or miss, hot or cold on them. This is one where I think if I read the full volume, when it's all out, it's probably going to give me sniffles. I also don't really tear up very much when I'm reading something for the first time or consuming it for the first time. It's usually on a repeat where it has this deeper, heart-shaky feeling to me. I think this, especially the time and time again panels, I think that's going to really mess me up in the future. Because it is this incredible, consolidation of not just the whole series, but a span of time that surpasses any of the other girls' like experiences with Yuiga. Like this is something that is literally Yuiga's entire life can be seen from Kirisu's point of view. Like it is a little weird, but at the same time it is this like there's no one else on the planet who she could respect more than Yuiga because she has seen him like she has seen all of him, every single bit of him. She has the most context for his existence, and he has done the most directly to try and help her. Like more so than just tutoring her or trying to like help her achieve her dreams. It has been so much more intimate. It's been so much deeper. It feels like all the other arcs are like like fun harem arcs. They're all like, hey, what if, what if, what if? But this arc does feel so much more concrete, so much more real. Ah, God, Taishi. Anyways, that's We Never Learn. Let us move on to Me and Roboco, Chapter 20. Oh boy, what are we getting here? You gained weight. Okay, Chapter 20, Dieting in Roboco. I mean, how does Roboco work? I guess that's a pun? What is no Rasengan? What does that mean? That's also just a straight up Rasengan. Shuhei Mizaki has such a pure form of comedy that I can't fully wrap my head around. Like, I think that is why Roboco is so good to me. It is because he will, like, any other gag mangaka doing a new series in Jump would have all three of these jokes be Dragon Ball references. But he has the 1, 2, 3 beat of Dragon Ball reference that kind of works as a pun, big Dragon Ball reference that plays into the plot, and then a Naruto reference for no fucking reason. Or rather, for this reason. Man, none of that fat went to the Nappa knees. The Nappa knees are so extremely defined even now. Is this a fetish? I can't tell if these are tears. Like, yeah, like it is all, like, the Yuri petals in the background. Or, like, like the soft, happy petals. So I guess it must be that fist bumping her like a fleshy little fist is super fun. To be fair, does the Robocopter use up calories? I mean, I guess power has to be coming from somewhere. Does Roboco get power from calories? This is in Chapter 1. I'm pretty sure we saw her plug in. I mean, this is a series of questions I don't think we're gonna get answers to. I don't think the mangaka should try to answer these ones. What is happening? I mean, okay, I guess she is just eating a lot off screen. But where's the resolution for this? Like, why? It has to be that she's stressed out about something. Because this isn't that normal for her. Every chapter she gets closer to the destruction of all humanity. These pages are a really strong 1-2 punch. But okay, like, if we take Bondo at his word, and she really isn't, like, eating, cake and stuff on the side, then why is this happening? Oh no, Ultra Slim Water. I mean, she's not, like, using up their finances. She has a part-time job, so this is her money, but at the same time, she's getting ripped off. Like, this is definitely a scam. This is definitely a cult. Okay, next day. God. Again, this is such a good 3 beats. I'm so glad I have this digitally. You look like Cell just before he self-destructs. I mean, yeah, she does. Unfortunately, I don't look like that. At this rate, I'm going to explode in the next few minutes, taking the planet with me. I mean, this is actually the most peril the world has been in the entire series. Oh no, she's committing to destruction of the world! But what is the plan? Why is this happening? Oh, okay, so as she was stressing, like the stress was causing her body to balloon up like that. That is some real gag logic, but yeah, it makes sense. I mean, it makes sense in reference to how anything in Roboco makes sense. I feel like if I say that makes sense in reference to me and Roboco, it has to be taken with a grain of, as much as it can. And that actually is a good thorough line, like, from the first page. I wasn't even thinking about that as well. Like, yeah, and she did say she was backing up to get her face to look smaller. And that immediately leads to this. Like, when I originally read it, as anyone would, I assumed it was I thought the joke was she was this big in that picture, and she moved back in order to try and make herself look more slim. But it is the opposite. It is. She really does look normal here, and then because she did that, she ballooned up. And I guess that's a fair punchline. Like, you can't... It would be very irresponsible if you told kids, hey, by the way, if you at home eat a whole bunch of food, you won't get fat. I guess it's important to split the difference there. Half good mean Roboco. Not like definitely not one of the best, but it was pretty strong. And like the entire second half with her slow like I guess that also does work. Like it is a bigger, 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 and then she deflates. Ah, that's good composition. Sadly, it's gotta go below Black Clover. But I'm very confident that the author comments will not be as good as this chapter. I do think legitimately ranking the author comments has made me feel a lot better about like how I position manga, because before I used to constantly say just because it's at the bottom doesn't mean it's bad, because I felt so guilty about it. But now I can do it a lot like I can do it because I have the limbo bar that is the author comments that I can safely put at the bottom and say, all right, at the very least, nothing. If anything's below this, then it's an insult. Anyways, those are the pre-recordeds. I'll see you in a bit for the live stream. And just gonna cut a bit of that prelude out. Anyways, hello everyone. This is Thermite, and this is Weekly Shonen Jump. We are doing the not pre-recordeds, the live recordeds. I mean, the chat's still up. You can still see it. So, but anyways, boy, sorry. This is a scrambly time. Don't worry, in post, I'll make it all look super cool. I'll do like a transition effect, and I'll make the screen spin. It's gonna be really dope. But speaking of really dope, let's start off with Sakamoto Days, Chapter 2. Days 2. Okay, Sakamoto Family Rules. So each chapter is a days. That feels weird. I mean, it is more distinctive than like day 1, day 2, also because presumably this series does not take place one day after another in not real time, but like that would be. I mean, I guess days 2 works because it is like, this however long this chapter is, these days comprise the second chapter. These days comprise chapter 1. So, got Sakamoto, got his wife, got the boy who really can see the future. Over the course of last chapter, I have fully come to the understanding that he can really see the future, which now means, of course, in chapter 2, if they say, by the way, when I say I can see the future, that is actually a metaphor, I'm gonna lose my mind. Okay, it's been 1 week since I left my life as a hitman and came to work at Sakamoto's. If this isn't a, like, every chapter is another day and it moves in real time parallel to that, you could, like, this series could be every week is actually 1 week in universe. Though that's a thing that works really well for, like, Twitter manga, but it wouldn't work for something in Jump. Because then you can't do, like, multi-parters, unless each multi-parter has the inherent understanding of, after these 19 pages, regardless of where we end the chapter, you're gonna have to wait a week, or, like, we'll just spend a week doing nothing, then we'll come back to this problem. Also, we don't have Shin's name. Like, I didn't think about that at all, but that feels like we're going to drop a big ol', like, hey, it's me, your brother, Shun, and I can see through time. I mean, also, I guess it's important because they are married. Like, they do have the same last name. I inflicted no lethal wounds. Okay, so, no one died in chapter 1. I know you already know this, but the penalty for breaking the family rules is divorce. So, that is our, like, ongoing struggle in the series. I mean, it could be partially, various crime syndicates coming over to try and shake up Sakamoto's. But there's also the penalty of death, or the penalty of divorce, which is probably equivalent to the penalty of death. I'm expecting some real Spider-Man PS4, Sakamoto throws 50 guys off of a building, and then afterwards we see that they're all stuck to the sides because he spat gum on them and then used the gum to stick them to the sides. This is such a good gag. And actually, this gag now has a secondary level of, like, it's more of a gag to me now because now I know he 100% can't do it. I mean, I'm sure at some point we'll get the big shocking moment of he stabs Shin in the neck, and then we go like, oh, wait a minute, that wasn't a vision. That wasn't his mind. He really did it. But before that point, we can just assume every single time this happens, it is a joke because, of course, Sakamoto would never do it. Also, I feel like because of how Chapter 1 escalated, you can't do a whole lot of, like, petty theft gags. Like, I feel like they've already set a bar for how high the action would have to be. And now we have the struggle of, Like, no matter how high the scale goes, Sakamoto can never kill anyone, under threat of divorce. I feel like the escalation's gotta stay pretty darn high. Or, conversely, they should have very low scale chapters where it is like, oh, this kid needs help with his homework. How will Sakamoto help with that? Jeez. What should I do? The ice cream I bought's gonna melt. That's also actually a really cool gimmick. That, like, Sakamoto is very silent, so he doesn't have to talk to Shin. But also, if he ever does a flashback, it will be him remembering that thing and Shin just reading his minds. Like, flashbacks in the series can be a literal character stops, doesn't say anything, and just starts thinking about it. The classic, did you say all of that out loud, or did you just stand there and think about it while someone else was looking at you awkwardly? Sakamoto can just stand there and look out awkwardly into the distance, and that does count as exposition. Wait, also, okay, so out of the corner of his eye, he saw the bus, he saw that it was a bus jacking, he saw that his wife was on it. Like, that was so fast that I didn't register how he could have known about it. I went back because I was like, was he listening to a police radio or something? Like, what was that? Also, that is definitely the Akira slide, right? Do you people know how traumatic it is when your favorite manga gets discontinued? We're gonna crash this bus into the Shuhei building! Bruh, it's chapter 2! You can't go this hard in chapter 2! It feels like there's been a trend of the more recent series immediately going to 11 with we're going to blow up Shueisha. I mean, it feels weird that this is a trend at all that I can think of, let alone something that Sakamoto did in chapter 2. Such a big trend. Re-editing the comics for Halloween. The prison in the comics is also Shuei prison. Right. My God. Your lives will be sacrificed for a better manga industry. And meanwhile, she doesn't care at all. Hey, you don't seem to care about manga, do you? But okay. So it isn't just she's spacey. It is that she is so confident in Sakamoto that even though she hasn't messaged him at all, just by virtue of being in danger, she already knows that she's going to be saved. I mean, that's pretty damn romantic. It's, I do love this concept. Like, the concept of, the big killer who reforms himself for someone else. Like, that is, that's Unforgiven, for instance. Like, Unforgiven is probably one of my favorite movies. Like, not just one of my favorite Westerns, but one of my favorite movies in general. And it does come down to the fact that, the main character, played by Clint Eastwood, reformed himself, from the most dangerous gun in the West to just, chilling on a farm because he loved his wife so much. And even though his wife isn't there anymore, he refuses to, kill in her memory. Also, would you identify any Thermite affiliates as someone who would do crime for the same reason as our friends here? I choose not to incriminate myself or anyone I know. I mean, I had to take down all my Dorohedoro videos recently. I know people are looking at this channel. I don't want to tell Shueisha, who may or may not be driving a bus into the Shueisha building. So, Shin's concept, which is incorrect, is, number 1, rescue, secure the hostages, 2, incognito, don't reveal our hitman identities. But he's saying no. No killing, too. Right. I assume that was just kind of unstated. Sakamoto is definitely a character where the sound effects are vitally important. I would not have taken this as a grin. Like, his mustache has curled up a little bit, but I would never have taken that as a smile or a grin. I mean, fair. Jesus. Don't show up to a date or, to your, I mean, it's still a date whether you're married or not. Don't go to a date with blood still on your body. That's wild. I mean, it does say something about Sakamoto himself, that he doesn't understand why this would be a problem. And it does say something about Aoi, actually, that, from chapter 1, the one panel we saw of them leaving was, the two of them walking away and the syndicate was behind them. I took it as when they started dating, Taro immediately left. But it does seem like it was, they had a period where he was still a hitman, she knew that, and they were in love. Which is really interesting. This is definitely a series where they could do a lot of flashbacks to how the romance developed, and I would be hooked for all of them. The way in which this flashback works is so interesting. Because it means that Aoi, this also isn't he kept it a secret for a while. It is, they met each other. It was love at first sight. He continued to be a hitman, and she was okay with it to an extent. And like, this is the breaking point of don't kill people anymore. Also, is did she just casually commit suicide? It took me a second because I was like, is she like sliding down an embankment? But no, it does look like she's kind of jumped off the edge. God damn. And yeah, there's no incline there. It is a 90-degree angle. She just decided to do a casual suicide. Or I guess not. Like, I shouldn't say it like that because, yeah, you would have been sad if I died, right? Like, this is her in the same way that right now, she doesn't have any fear of death because she knows Sakamoto is going to save her. In the same way, like, she's shocked here because, because he grabbed her, because it was this, like, sudden jolt and she thought she could, she might die there. But it isn't, like, that wasn't a suicide attempt. That was I'm gonna jump off of this because I know you're gonna save me, and I need to do this to make you understand that when people die, other people suffer. The glasses especially do remind me, like, this is a pretty common, or not common, but, like, I've seen it in multiple things. I've seen it in Barry, I've seen it in Leon the Professional, or just, The Professional. Like, this idea of the hitman who is very neuroatypical, who, like, there is something to them that allows them to be such an efficient killer without it's really hitting them emotionally. And so they need, like, they don't fully understand how it feels unless someone else spells it out in a very different way. His expression here is also, like, it is this very, like, confused, dopey look. It isn't a, like, I can't believe you did this or I was scared. Like, it's so blank. Like, it does seem like he's learning about this for the first time. Or, like, it's only sinking in now that when you kill people, they have people who like them who are going to be sad. Oh, and they're both thinking of it at the same time. I mean, it's a classic Japanese saying. Or a classic anime saying, people die when they are killed. It's really important. Oh, it's so low! Also, how is Sakamoto going to do this? Because, like, he also, like, he has a very large head. Like, he's got a large head, and he's also wearing, like, a relatively tight top. So we can't do what Shin's doing. Jeez. This is some Naruto ninja movement. Okay, he's gonna take one of those. See, this is also something where I'm very worried, like, if this were to get an anime adaptation, I would really hope that it would be a series of shorts. Because this is really cool as a short, but if they did the Naruto thing, where we have, like, a straight minute of Sakamoto jumping through the rooftops, it would feel less cool. Like, it would be less impactful. In the same way that the first time you see the kids jumping through the trees in the Forest of Death, like, it's got some cool energy to it. But by the time you're in, like, halfway through Shippuden, and people just kind of, like, jumping through trees by the end of Naruto is like standing in an elevator. Like, it is just a background moving, and the slightest exertion of effort sometimes? Usually not. Usually it is the characters not saying anything, not exerting any breath, but just kind of, like, moving up and down to show that they are still jumping on trees. But they're usually just talking and monologuing. Also, Sakamoto's a beast, but, I mean, this is also pretty impressive. Like, buses have plexiglass. That is a thick-ass piece of glass to shatter like that. I mean, I guess this is a suicide move. Like, this isn't like they're, stealing the bus or, like, using it as a getaway. They were planning on driving this thing into Shueisha headquarters. So I guess it makes sense. But, man, that is so... Jeez. Also, Sakamoto, you're not covering your face! What are you doing? Does this work? To be fair, based on fiction, I have a very skewed perception of how strong the glass on the front of a bus is. Like, I've seen so many things where it is a, like, sometimes you jump right through the glass pane on the front of the bus and it's fine. Other times, like in Shazam, the entire truck, or the entire bus can fall from, like, a pretty, like 2 stories up. And then you can catch it using the glass on the front of the bus, and it's fine, and the glass doesn't crack, and everyone's kind of accepted, yeah, the glass on the front of the bus can hold up the weight of the entire bus. So I guess I'll accept this is okay. I'm sure this is fine. Who was this mysterious Precure? To be fair, this also does look like the start of some sort of, like, death game manga. This has very strong high-rise invasion vibes of person wearing a very normie outfit, but with a really wacky mask. It feels like the start of The Purge. Wait, what? How did anyone have footage of this? Who was filming this? I mean, if someone was filming it, there's also, like, Sakamoto had the mask up here, and then presumably he slid it down before he stopped the bus. So, that's a little dangerous. This is, I mean, if any syndicates are watching, they're gonna notice. I mean, I guess not actually. Like, if they're looking for the Sakamoto, you know, the big killer Sakamoto, they wouldn't be able to recognize him from this. Like, that's the other cool thing about his transformation as a person. Like, because he's gotten real fat, it would be very difficult to reconcile that this is the same guy. But then again, yeah, he didn't kill anyone in Chapter 1. Presumably, anyone who saw him in Chapter 1 knows what he looks like. Yeah, I think it's gonna get out. Yeah, how did they get that shot? Ah, and you know, I am a sucker for this. Like, we have a series of rules. Like, not just a, you know, don't kill, but they do have, like, bylaws and stuff. That's cool. Like, I'm excited to see all of those play out as the series goes on. Overall, Sakamoto good. But is Sakamoto the best? That is the question. I can't, like, We Never Learned this week was really, really good. Black Clover, but decent. Me and Roboco was actually pretty fun, but where does this go? In terms of wow factor, I feel like this is under Black Clover, above Me and Roboco. Anyways, Sakamoto Days, okay. If anything incriminating is showing up, don't worry. You can always use that to make me read more Sobote or something. But yeah, yeah. Recording's good, virtual camera's good. I'm not actually streaming, quote unquote, so streaming doesn't need to be on. But yeah, yeah. Anyways, that is Sakamoto Days. That also was a very weird for me moment in which I could catch my breath. So hopefully the rest of these reactions are also going to be higher quality. Let's see how that goes. Next is Our Blood Oath, Chapter 12, A Greater Foe. So I am a little worried about this one. I mean, I guess a greater foe might just refer to the third girl, or like the second girl, because we have like first girl that they fought, we've got the guy they're currently fighting, there's the third girl. Yes, Kane. So it could be that, or the thing. Okay, here's why I freaked out for a second. A greater foe could also imply a, like, Blood Oath Brothers, I was fighting you as a test, because the triad I'm working, that I am a part of is in danger, because there is a greater vampire out there that we must fight, and we need you to team up with us. And that is, Cain? Okay. I mean, to be fair, based on Chapter 1, like, there is the final boss of the series. Like, I think we can pretty safely assume the one that burned down their mansion is the final boss. And there is most likely going to be a ladder in which we will work our way up to fighting final boss. So this could be that, or it could just be, it could just be a, like, you haven't met the third member of our trio, and she's the one who's really messed up. Human pierced my body with just his hand. I suppose that must be the power of the Blood Oath. Wait, okay. In our world, the hierarchy of strength is determined by the thickness of blood. So, is that literally the thickness of the blood? Like, I'm sure we'll see either way. But because he brought up, that turning your blood into weapons has a special implication for vampires, like, I would have usually taken this as a, like, the thickness of your blood is related to how close you are to the king, like, like, the further away you are from the king, the more diluted it is. But it also could be a literal, like, your blood is actually more thick, and that is why you can turn it into a scythe. Like, because it is actually closer to being a solid. That's because only nobility in the royal line can do it. Okay. I mean, yeah, it makes sense. If you have both royal power and a blood oath with that human, then you should have the potential to surpass the previous king. Is this a... I want to see your potential because you have to kill, final boss who is stronger than the previous king. Oh no. It's the even more classic, I am a villain, I'm going to kill my subordinate real quick because he is a fool. I mean, to be fair, they are vampires. This might not be a kill. This might be a, I'm going to just suck some blood out of you with my sword. God, I really do love, like, Like, this has been very consistent, but I do like, that in this moment, the brothers are reacting the exact way they did when they saw, the girl having killed her friends. Like, it is that combination of Shin's extreme, rage and Ko's trauma. And she's so chill about it. Like, it's not even a sadistic grin. Like, she looks so relieved. So, oof. Okay, I guess Ko's just going for it. Oh, is this gonna be his super form? What is going on with, like, not just him, but, like, his clothing? Like, his pants look like they're torn up, but his shirt looks like he is turning himself into pure energy. That is not the effect I was expecting from this. The one-eye in shadow looks really cool, though. Or, like, the contrast between, like, his hair going all white, and then one of his eyes is in shadow, and, like, the irises look different. That's so cool! I think that this site's actually a little too ornate for me. I can barely tell I mean, to be fair, part of it is also the sound effects, which looks really cool, but I think it's a little too much. So how are they getting out of this one? Like, if he's really this strong... And she does look legitimately very concerned here. What? God, our Blood Oath is, if nothing else, so shonen. Ah, she's also a royal, isn't she? And it's an oath-severing blade. Now, is that just a poetic flourish? Like, is she just saying, this blade is so sharp that it can even cut oaths apart? Or is it a literal, like, if she tags them, she'll actually sever their blood oath? True, I guess you're right. Like, you do need both of them, or there's no oath. Like, I was wondering if, like, this is very early on in the series, but I was wondering if now is the time when she does, like, if she could, like, cut between them, and instead of killing one of them, she actually just, like, cuts their oath in half, and then they have to reform it by the bond of them being brothers or something. Ah, this chapter was, I mean, our Blood Oath is pretty by the book. This chapter was really by the book. But it was, like, I do like the artistic flourishes. Like, anything involving the blood weapons looks really cool. And I'm interested enough. But I will say, like, Chapter 12 of Our Blood Oath compared to Chapter 2 of Sakamoto Days, like, if I hold them side by side, Sakamoto Days is much more compelling. I do find it much more interesting. So this might be the inevitable slow decline until I drop the series. But we'll see. It's pretty okay. Can't say much else. That is Our Blood Oath. I'll make sure to tag Cripple Lampo back in a sec. Next is Undead Unluck, Chapter 42. Oh no, it didn't refresh. Oh, I sure hope... Okay, there we are. Number 42, As Long as They Don't Forget. By the way, I say this at the end of every stream, but I want to say it now as well. Thank you for putting up with me. I'm even more scattered than I am usually, and I'm aware of that, and I am legitimately grateful that anyone watches my stuff. Like, I'm also legitimately a little tiny bit grateful that the rights holders for Dorohedoro liked my video enough to strike me. I do consider it a little badge of honor that, I mean, like, some of those videos did get like 1,000 views. I'm glad that they looked at them and went, you know what? This is as good as watching Dorohedoro the anime or reading Dorohedoro the manga. Therefore, we need to stop this. He's gotten too powerful. But speaking of Undead Unluck, and I mean, not a great cover image. It's fine. It's whatever. Yo, this is right in the middle of town. I feel like you should probably do this outside of the limits. I mean, how do you atone for this? Like, what will he do here? Because it isn't even a... Like, this was a successful hit. Like, they did blow his brains out. And I do think that does matter. Like, if I were perfectly immortal, I would... And this might just be me... This might be me being a bit petty. But I would, like, have more of a grudge towards someone who blew my head off compared to someone who, like, stabbed me. Because I would take that as more of a, like, you did land a bigger hit. Like, I would have actually died from that one, so I am upset. Even if either way it doesn't matter. The question then is, how does Andy see it? Like, we know by the end, by present day, Andy is so out there that he's fine with it. He's blowing his own head off. He's shooting his arms and his fingers at people. But at this point, like, he's not even Andy. I should just be calling him Captain. Like, what is his thought process here? What is he going to do to her? Every year on this day, pour this beer Anheuser puts out on their graves. Every time they put out a new one, pour it out till the day you die, and don't you skip a single one. That is so manly. Do that, and those three won't blame you for what you did. Because it is also... Like, that is him also saying, like, this isn't for me. It's not that if you don't do this, I'll come back and hurt you. It is that if you do this, they'll be fine with it. This is a bit of a double-edged sword, because eventually she's going to be pouring Budweiser, like, modern Budweiser on the graves, which isn't exactly a great tribute. But, it's the thought that matters. Oh, Fuko, I didn't even think about that. Like, yeah, she is the kind of person who might have, been driven to something awful because she regretted this so much. This is a way for her to atone. Like, in the same way that most funerary processes are not for the dead, they are for the living. This is a way for her to make amends. And, like, I think there is also this additional aspect of, if he hadn't told her to do this, she may have wondered, like, what if he comes back and he's angry and he kills me? Whereas now she has some level of control over the situation. She has a way to both, to appease everyone, including herself. I would say that real ghosts don't exist until the Uma is added. Because, yeah, like, in the same way that Fuko was capable of, conjuring the concept of stars in her mind, even though stars didn't exist. Like, I think there must be the potential to invent things. Like, in the same way that prior to Uma Galaxy existing, maybe someone out there did come up with the idea of aliens. I mean, Shueisha existed. Maybe Toriyama was out there and he made Dragon Ball. I mean, Astro Boy existed. Probably. I guess we don't know. Yeah, like, I don't think that the rules would inhibit human imagination. It is just that it would be modified as new things come into existence. Like, yokai could potentially exist, but the yokai tradition would change significantly if the Uma exists and this concept of, like, yokai as a real thing was retroactively added into the universe. Ah, homie, glad you're here. Yeah, you came at a good time. It hasn't been a train wreck, but it's been a shaky train. I've been pretty wacky wild. Oh no, Gamu Gamu. Oh no! You're right! It's 100% possible. I will say it now. I will also say, if Undead Unluck becomes a yokai series, it's gonna be on thin ice. I mean, at this point, I trust the mangaka. If the mangaka decides, you know what, it's gonna be a harem comedy for an arc, I would still say, you know what, I'm willing to go along with this. Let's see what it's like. So, but at the same time, I would be very scared. Because Undead Unluck also does have a built-in way to shake things up. Like, if Undead Unluck gets to chapter 750 and it starts going low in the popularity polls and people don't like it very much, the mangaka can always throw in, Uma time travel or Uma Dragon Ball Z. Maybe not Uma Dragon Ball Z. That's a pretty wild one. But it is possible. It's still there. Yeah, I mean, even now, even as different as he is, I don't believe this for a second. What a strong contrast between Fuko, weaseling her way into being part of the crew, and Andy saying, nope, you're not in my crew, not happening, crew don't exist anymore. From then on, I traveled with Andy on his journey. I mean, I'm a little disappointed that it seems like we're going to time skip through a lot of this. I did. Mahou Shoujo Sakamoto was very good. Precure Sakamoto a la mode. Oh, actually, in that case, is this, like, it felt like eons had passed in the blink of an eye, almost as if I was dreaming. It was a strange experience, like I'd become a character in some sort of book. Like, in that case, is this literally a time skip, or literally a montage? Like, is this the book saying, like, Fuko, you're going to go through all of this, you're going to have the memories of doing all of this, but it isn't really going to happen. Like, you're just gonna, like, pop on through, and Andy is also going to remember you popping on through all of these memories. Like, that's such a weird, interesting, like, I'm not against it, but it is such a weird way to handle it. Like, my brain is creaking right now. You know when your car isn't, like, making a dying sound, but it's making a weird sound, and you're like, something's gotta be wrong over there. That's what's happening in my brain. It's making a, like, I didn't think a piece of fiction could do this. Like, there's a difference between Andy, in some way reliving all of this, because it is still, like, stuff he did, even if the memories are a bit different. There's a difference between him re-experiencing it through Fuko going through it, and Fuko actually spending, like, decades with him. Like, that does mess me up whenever a series does something like that. Like, the classic, I went to another world and I lived there for 80 years, and I came back to my world and I'm still a kid, but I also have the brain of an 80-year-old now. And it also doesn't, like, remove the trauma from this. Like, she's still suffering along with him, just in a different way. She's so casual with it now. Also, like, depending on how this works, like, whether it is rewriting his memories or whether he just has, like, parallel experiences now, like, she is, in a way, making it so that Andy is his truest name. Like, maybe not as, like, deep as Victor, but that is also a different person. Like, if Andy now has memories of 100 or 200 years of his life where he was consistently being called Andy, like that's gotta change the way he sees the name Andy now. Like now it can't just be a nickname. Now it is something that he knows about. Like now it's something that's been a part of him for way longer than it was before. Dr. Pep. This isn't the one I'm thinking of, or this is probably isn't the one you're thinking of, but is it the same one with the guy who really liked the Sega Genesis and he was isekai'd and he came back in modern day when Sega basically went bankrupt and he's still a big Sega stan and like he's living with his nephew who thinks he's really dumb but at the same time he has crazy cheat level isekai powers. That's the only one I can think of that is like exclusively 100% about main character coming back after being isekai'd. And of course it does have the like flashes of the past and like, oh, there is actually something very traumatizing there he doesn't want to talk about. He just wants to goof around and play Sonic. Oh, this is actually really cool. Like, it is them being very casual between one another, but this is also showing the way in which Andy got to where he is now, where he can like almost precisely predict any stroke of unluck that happens in reference to Fuko. Like we've seen him do the mental math in his head of like what is most likely. And here, like, it's on a much smaller level, but the fact that he's able to pin it down so precisely is cool. Like, it does show that this is, like, it is a skill. I think it is, like, Isekai Oji-san. Yeah, this is the one I'm thinking of. Are there any chapters? Yeah. I liked it well enough. I mean, it's not done, but it's decent enough. I'll link it in chat in case anyone wants to check it out. It's a fun one, but it's not, like, it's not gonna knock your socks off. It's no, Cautious Hero, which is something that unironically did knock my socks off. Budweiser. So to be fair, I mean, this is Budweiser when it was new, so there's still the possibility that Budweiser is really good. Also, like I know it's not a legal thing, but it does knock my socks off anytime I read a manga and they do just have like Budweiser in it. It's not like Budmiser. Like any series like this, where there is a perfectly good reason why you could have the McDonald's and the Budmeiser. Like, it's so strong that Undead Unluck chooses specifically not to do that. What do you think it means to die? I mean, makes sense. And this, I mean, I wonder if this is accurate to what Andy now thinks. Because, I mean, again, he's changed so much. But at this point, at the very least, he thought it was when your brain stops thinking. Thinking means you can challenge. Thinking means you can change. I think when a person can't do that anymore, that's when they're dead. Okay, so what does Fuko think? In my opinion, you only truly die when people stop remembering you. Okay. Oh, and that is... I mean, is that not why she is here? Sorry, I know it's a big jump. Let me backtrack for a second. Like, I read the whole page, and, like, her rationale is, she did, using her ability, kill her parents, even if she didn't mean to. But they're not dead to her. Because she still thinks of them. She still knows that, like, they can change. Like, the mom and dad in her heart have gone from, being innocent victims to maybe at some point she thought that they might have blamed her for this, to now her understanding that no, they wouldn't have wanted me to think that. Like, yeah, the brain blast I just had that is basically what she is doing. Like, regardless of what Andy, as we know him, thinks about death. Like, by virtue of being in his past, like, Fuko can now be the person who was always there. The person who can take every single trauma that he's gone through and put it in a different light. Like, last chapter was the big statement of, this is Fuko's lot in life. Like, she's gonna have to stay here and watch every single time Andy has lost someone. But I think this page is putting it into a different light of, it's not that she has to endure it. It's not that she's just there to watch him suffer. She can also change the nature of his suffering. She can give him a different context. She can help him process this as he remembers all of this. And I think it is really bold of her to also, like, to acknowledge that, yeah, this might just be a fantasy I've made up to escape from the weight of my sins. But she doesn't feel like they're dead. And ultimately, like, in the same way that funerary processes are for the living, like, whether you like your belief in life and death is for the living. It isn't for the dead. Because the dead, regardless of whether there's an afterlife or not, the dead can't weigh into the conversation. Like she's tearing up as she's saying this, and then what is she seeing? What is Andy's face here? Is he crying? Oh, he smiled. Oh yeah, it's all good. So I guess this must have been a like specifically a how do I put this? Like this is him as he was in his memories, but at the same time he has some understanding of the overall arc of the series or the arc of what Foucault is doing here. Like she was not allowed to jump right back to his oldest memory. In the same way that I assume now, when she goes back to his oldest memory, she's probably going to have to earn the right to see Victor's memories. Ah, she's stopping herself. I mean, this does raise the question that, I mean, I have an answer for this one, but I'll say it's just so the chat can hear it. The question of, is it okay to kiss or make love to a past version of the person you are in love with? Like, if you go back in time to, like, if you're in a relationship with someone, you're both 30, and you jump 10 years in the past, is it okay to, make love to their 20-year-old self? Understanding that, they are a different person. Like, I do firmly believe that we as human beings, even if we are chronologically the same person, or, like the same general body, the same, if you go very deep to the part of your brain where the cells don't replicate themselves, like, that part doesn't change. Like, you are the same person, but at the same time, you do constantly change and reinvent yourself. I do think there should be a taboo there. I mean, this is a problem we're probably not going to have to run into for a long time. But I would feel weird in the same way that, yeah, like if both versions give consent, I think that's it. I think like this is bad because she can't talk it over with modern day Andy. But if modern day Andy was like, yeah, you know what, go for it, bang cap, I think that'd be fine. And of course, if he also was down with it, which it seems like he is. Okay, guess she's zip zop zoop and back to before he got the tattoo. Or maybe exactly when he got the tattoo, depending on, when it was. 144 years from now, on August 1st, 2020, we'll meet at Shinjuku Station. I'll try to run away from you, but make sure you catch me. I'll kiss you on that day, so be sure not to forget. Now, this does raise questions. Oh no! Like, this is a dope moment, but this does raise questions. Future Foucault is giving consent. Also, actually, oh my god, I didn't think about that. This does, Chapter 1 does still feel weird to me, but this does retroactively change the way in which I view Chapter 1. For now, I'm going to say, because she doesn't know what's happening, like, she doesn't have a greater view of this than anyone else, I'm going to say that she's not really time traveling. I think she might think that she is time traveling. Or alternatively, this might be a, like, what happens in Andy's memories changes, the world, quote-unquote, of Andy's memories. I think the payoff here might be that at some point, like after she zips up zoops back to, back to this time when she goes and sees what's going on with Victor, I think we might end this arc with her going back to Chapter 1 and then like redoing Chapter 1 but giving full consents to Andy. I don't think this is at all confirmation one way or another on whether she's really time traveling. And we are seeing the moon, which, like, the moon in the starless sky just automatically make me think of Gina. Like, that was the arc when we first went like, oh, this is actually a thing. This isn't just a weird arts choice. It is canonical that there are no stars in the sky, and that is weird. I wonder, like, if this is time travel, I wonder if this also, like, adds context to why he was more okay with, Gina dying than not. I mean, this also does, like, it reminds me a little of stories I've read where someone, like the famous Next Generation episode where Picard gets to change the past so he was never shot in the past and the bullet's not in his body and so he won't die in the present. But as a result of not being shot then, he also doesn't become a captain. Like, it feels like that to me. Like, that level of, you saying, consenting now to something bad that'll happen to your past self doesn't mean that your past self is going to suffer any less. But it is this understanding of, I'm on the other side and I accept that this is going to be worth it. Even if even if this is awful in the past and I'm going to suffer, I'm going to not like it at the time, knowing what I know right now, I am still willing to go through all of that. Consent in time travel is a tricky situation. I don't think I can say it any better than that. It is just a tricky situation. It's tough to deal with. It's tough to reconcile. Oh no, my phone is dying. Don't worry, it'll be fine. I just have to put it over here. Yeah, like I think it's better if your future self consents. But there is no true way for your future consent, yes, for your future self to consent to what happened in the past. You can only be okay with it from, from the future moving forward. And in the same way, like, I mean, that's a problem that has plagued humanity throughout history. It is the question of, like, do you, like, if your baby is crying because they don't want to drink milk, but you know they need to drink the milk or they're gonna die, like, do you force feed them the milk? It is this understanding of there's some times when, like, there's some times when you can't do something that is morally 100% okay, and you have to accept that you're doing a bad thing, but for an ultimately good reason. Or it's bad in one way, but it's good in another. Anyways, that is Undead Unluck. I mean, handily, it's gotta be at the top. This arc has the potential to be the best arc of the series. Because, like, we also have the memory thing. Like, this can be the highlights of Andy's life / Victor's life. We can have everything, we can get just the good stuff without having to really focus on, stuff in between or explanations of how did we get here. I would not be surprised if this ends up being my favorite arc. Right now it's not, but it could get there. I can see the path. Anyways, that's Undead Unluck. Let us move on to Chainsaw Man, Chapter 95, Chainsaw Man versus Control Devil. I'm going to say that this whole chapter is going to be, like, literally just a brawl. Because we haven't really had that. We've had, the quote-unquote true Chainsaw Man, the purest essence of Chainsaw Man, like Chainsaw Man, but not Denji. We've had that fight Makima before, and that was more of just a ragdolly situation. Whereas this is more even. Denji is weaker. Makima is extremely strong. She's also been planning for this. I wouldn't be surprised if she wins this one, honestly. I think actually this is going to be a big old struggle, and the end of it is going to be Kishibe and or Kobani have to, like, win. Like, they have to come in and save Denji or something. Like, I think this is going to be the pure, this is Chainsaw Man versus the Control Devil. This is why Denji can't win, or this is why, because also, like, I think she does consider herself to be completely superior to Denji, not the Chainsaw Man still, which might be her undoing. But at the very least, I don't think she's going to have a problem with Denji as a person. When the anime comes out, I feel like it has to be like JoJo's, where we see the sound effects. Like, I wouldn't have said that very early on in the series, like when things were more liquid, but now, like, the chunky sound effects and the way in which they move, and the way in which sometimes they're in the foreground and the background simultaneously, like, it is so JoJo's in that sense. The sound effects are a part of every scene. Like, it is going to feel way more empty. Where something like Bleach, for instance, Bleach has good sound effects. It has very impactful sound effects at times. But I don't think they're, like, the anime never felt empty because the sound effects weren't there. Because the composition still worked either way. But Chainsaw Man's compositions are so dependent on the physical shape of the sound effect being there in certain scenes. Now, does Makima's, like, healing only extend to these people right now? Like, can she run out? Or is this when she runs out of the people she's directly linked to, then, the rest of the citizenry of Japan are going to slowly start being whittled away? Because, I mean, we still have the possibility of Denji just kills her as many times as there are people in Japan. I'm really surprised she's not landing more impactful blows. Like, she still has, the bang move. She still has tricks. But it doesn't seem like any of her moves are, like, particularly assisted. I mean, like, some of these blows seem pretty strong. But I'm surprised that she's not doing anything more special. I guess part of it actually is that this is, Chainsaw Man versus the Control Devil. Like, this is Makima trying to fight with her own power. And, the live she's connected to is, like, that's an edge case. That's connected to her ability. But fundamentally, like, all of her other crazy, weird moves are all, like, a result of contracts she has made. Whereas this is, like, I think this is also building her confidence. Like, if she doesn't fully believe that she's better than even Denji, let alone a Chainsaw Man, then this might be her going, yeah, without any other assistance, I can definitely take him on in a fight. Therefore, I should be able to assert my dominance over him. God, the way Denji's back looks here is so good to me. Like, Fujimoto has a gift of, like, the way in which he is capable of showing impact, the way he's capable of showing movement through the blur in his very sketchy style. It's something I think a lot of other mangaka can't really pull off because their styles are too uniform. Like, you can use, like, speed lines and stuff to show this very physical, singular body moving. But it's very hard to do, like, the squash and stretch, for instance. I think that's also it. This has lots of squash and stretch energy from Western cartoons. Like, especially Makima, like, having her head being blown off while simultaneously, like, reattaching it. It feels a lot like a cartoon. God, this is so cool. I mean, I am surprised. When I said that, I was expecting it to be more broken up, but this does seem like it is going to just be a full chapter straight of the two of them trading blows. Which, I mean, I'm here for it. Oh my God, she donutted him. I mean, again, it feels weird because also, like, a lot of what we've seen her do is this very, like, she's so strong that she doesn't have to exert efforts. Whereas I guess that's why I'm finding this a little weird. Like, it is the exact opposite. It is her exerting as much effort as possible and showing that, like, her ability to transfer the damage given to her and reform herself, combined with her raw strength, is enough for her to go toe-to-toe with Chainsaw Man. But it's so the opposite of control. Like, it is her acting with as much base instinct and strength as possible, as opposed to, manipulating others. You know what? You're right. This has so many shades of the Kizu fight. Except even the Kizu fight was way more comedic to an extent, like, with Aragi just kind of, like, running around and making the most of his hyper regeneration at that point in time. Whereas, like, this is so locked in one location. I think that's also it. Like, the fight against the horrifying weapon humans, like, that was so movement based. That was a Chainsaw Man and the weapon hybrids kind of, like, flying around the city, just flinging themselves all over the place. Whereas this is a spectacle without it really being that crazy. Like, their strength and their destructive potential is all being used against each other. Like, we don't have to, like, we're not seeing Makima, like, punch a hole through a building. It is, like, her strength is being shown entirely through the amount of damage she can inflict on Chainsaw Man before he can regenerate, and vice versa. It's the kind of fight that I think would be very unimpressive in Chapter 5, but it's very impressive here. Like, it's because we know how much punishment they can both take and how much damage they can deal, that it is now impressive that, that we have this smaller scale fights. Oh, jeez. Is that what Pochita's heart looks like? Actually, this does raise the question of, was Pochita the Chainsaw Devil, or was Pochita, like, the heart of the Chainsaw Devil? Like, was he the heart that just kind of, like, grew a chainsaw and some, like, feet? Because this shape is basically the Pochita shape. Like, it's so on the nose. It also does, like, now I do need to eventually see the other weapon hybrids' hearts being ripped out. It's like, I'm so curious, what do they look like? Like, do they all look this cute, or are some of them gross? This is also such a, dare I say it, mathematically perfect visual. Like, it feels like there's a trinity of cute, aloof, and, like, horrifyingly detailed being shown here. I don't know how to say this without it sounding completely insane, but everything about, like, the use of white space in contrast to the crosses as they, like, get thicker and thicker as we get here, the triangle that Makima is making with Denji's body and the hearts. This image feels mathematically perfect to me. I don't know what that means, but I gotta say it. This is definitely, like, oh my God. There are so many images in Chainsaw Man that I might just use this as my background. It's so good. I can't stop looking. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm also pretty horrified because Denji gonna die. But at the same time, like, I mean, that is the genius of Fujimoto's work. That he can simultaneously, like, I feel like every couple of chapters, I am horrified or scared or confused by something happening, and at the same time, I am captivated by the way in which he depicts it, without it being like a very flowery, like the Death Note duo, for instance. Like, I do not like Platinum Ends. I don't like it. And even there, like, the art is very flowery and very, like, technically impressive. When I say technically, I mean, like, in terms of, like, technique. In terms of, like, you can tell there's a lot going on in there. There's a lot being drawn. There's a lot of lines. And it does impress me when Fujimoto can do something like this, where it isn't conventionally attractive, but it is still so compelling, and it is good. He is such a good artist. I mean, we did see this, by the way. Like, I didn't forget this. I do remember seeing Pochita, like, look more like this when he was going into Denji, like when they were fusing. It's just, I assume everyone else probably assumed that was like an in-between stage before he turned into an anatomical heart, as opposed to just kind of sticking around like this. I can't imagine how creeped out I would be if I were a doctor and I was doing a checkup on Denji and I used I was performing a biopsy and I just see Pochita's smiley face looking out and blinking and going like, "Hey, what's going on? It's me, Pochita." It was unavoidable that you'd lose to my bare hands. You aren't Chainsaw Man after all. How can I get you to give up on this world, Denji? What do I need to do for you to turn back into Chainsaw Man? I mean, I do think that, like, she blew her chance, slash Denji was too strong for that moment. I don't think there's anything she could possibly do that could bring him back to that state, that moment, that absolute loss, that absolute devastation. It is I never want to say this is a good thing, but I've talked to a lot of people in my life who have, like, said they've hit rock bottom, or, they've kept on sinking. I've heard a lot of horror stories. And it does, like, I am so awed anytime someone brings up the idea of hitting rock bottom and using that to rise back up. Like, the idea that there is this inexhaustible source of strength that comes from, from being at the very bottom. Like, once you're at the ground floor, you can't sink any lower, and you can use that, that rock bottom as a way to push yourself up. It is also very fitting that, like, the one thing that Makima can't control is someone like Denji, like someone who is just so garbage that, like, he can hang on because of, like, a level of selfishness, which I do think is something that a lot of people have to back themselves into. This idea of, what? Even if it's better that, even if mathematically you can say that it would be better if I wasn't around, I'm still going to assert myself, my individuality. I'm still going to exist whether you like it or not. Chainsaw Man doesn't wear clothing and doesn't talk. Every action he takes should be chaotic. And yet, despite not getting him at all, you were chosen by Chainsaw Man. If you're gonna get in our way, then die. I mean, this feels like a real big, you don't understand Chainsaw Man panel, but I can't say that, because I also don't understand Chainsaw Man. Like, what is it? What did draw, like, whatever Pochita is, like, whether Pochita is Chainsaw Man or whether he is something separate, whether Chainsaw Man is a gestalt that only exists when Pochita is, when Pochita has a host and is driven to absolute hopelessness. Like, whatever Chainsaw Man is, there must be some reason why Denji is now Chainsaw Man. I mean, is that it? Is that GG? I mean, legitimately, what happens here? Because if, like, I'm thinking about the contract Power made with Denji and how that works. Like, we don't know where humans go when they die, if they go anywhere when they die. We know some afterlives don't exist anymore, but we don't know whether there are more that we just haven't been told about. Also, what happens to contracts when you die? Like, is it a when you die contract over, or can you maintain one even after death? Like, if you are the same person. I assume, like if Makima were to truly cease to be, if her individuality was gone and a different control devil was born, I doubt that control devil would have all the contracts from Makima's existence. But if Denji can maintain his individuality, if he goes to a afterlife where that is possible, would he still have the contracts with Denji and the contract with Power? Because it also raises the question of, like, if Makima takes Pochita and sticks him into someone else, and someone else becomes Chainsaw Man, like, is that a contract? Or is that just a physical lump of flesh inside of someone else creating a gestalt being? Would that mean then that if Denji were to come back, he could still reinforce the terms of that contract? I might flip my lid if the next chapter comes out, or if chapter 100 is Chainsaw Man part 1 over. The Denji arc of Chainsaw Man is now over. I wouldn't be against it, honestly. Like, I could definitely see Fujimoto doing a Denji is dead, someone else is Chainsaw Man, we're gonna follow him for a while, and then at some point later in the series, like, just when you have finally accepted the Denji isn't coming back, he's gonna come back. Or, like, he is genuinely gone forever, but his body is used to make the next blood fiend or something. I don't think you can say anything for sure. Like, Fujimoto also has that powerful wildcard energy. I don't think you can put him in a corner. I don't think you can say, well, this is just what he's gonna do. There's no surprise about it. He's so unconventional. Chainsaw Man Lady would be so cool. Because, I mean, yeah, like, she's got a past. She's an interesting character. People like her. I do think also, like, he is running and jump. Like, as wild as he is, as crazy as, the risks he takes are, I don't think any editor would say, it's fine if you run and jump and you just choose another protagonist. I think it would make the most sense to make Kobani Chainsaw Man. Or, I also really like the ring of Chainsaw Man Lady in the same, style as Devil Man Lady. Yeah. Because, yeah. Sorry, I gotta externalize these thoughts. Chainsaw Man, like, it isn't the Chainsaw Devil. It has been said time and time again by, Makima, Chainsaw Man's #1 fan, that it is Chainsaw Man. So if a woman were to become Chainsaw Man, it should be Chainsaw Man Lady. Like, in the same way that, like, Devil Man is not literally Devil Man, as in, devil male. It is devil and man, as in human. Or, the border between devil and man, or both devil and man, depending however you want to take it. I don't need to explain Go Nagai to you guys. You know Go Nagai. I mean, to be fair, I have also said repeatedly that I am so baffled by the readership of Chainsaw Man. Like, by the readership who will read the series and just not know, like, what's going on? Are they still in hell? It's chapter 80. In the same way, I wouldn't be surprised if Fujimoto just put in a new protagonist that looks exactly like Denji and just hoped, just had his fingers crossed that people reading Chainsaw Man won't realize. Like, either the people who really love Chainsaw Man know what's going on and they're fine with it, and the people who, read it for 5 minutes while they're on the toilets will just go like, oh yeah, it's Denji, he's cool. It's Denji with an eye patch. Chapter 1, page 40. Let me jump back there. Oh no, you're right. I don't want to skip too much. I find that if I, like, use the back and forth arrows too much, Viz will kind of just lock up and say, no, sorry, can't find your account anymore. Ah, that is really cool. I mean, honestly, I don't know how... I mean, this would be way too bonkers. But the ultimate Chainsaw Man Lady would be Makima. Like, up to this point, like, we know you can't make a fiend with a devil and another devil, or at the very least we haven't seen it. But Chainsaw Man is a hybrid. We don't know what hybrids are. We've just been kind of, like, all evidence has shown that it is human being with devil heart in a combination in some way. But we haven't been explicitly told that Makima can't be Chainsaw Man Lady. I think that would be a really wild part too. If instead of putting in someone else, or instead of someone else taking the heart, if Makima just kind of, like, shoves the heart into herself and becomes the next Chainsaw Man and starts wrecking the world, and then part 2 is Kobani has to go lift some weights until she's strong enough to punch out Makima with the power of Chainsaw Man. I don't have a lot of faith in that one, but I needed to say it out loud in order to let myself know whether that was going to go anywhere good. But yeah, you're right. It's much like how in DeadTube, the two main characters are, Crazed Killer and someone who can record Crazed Killer, and they can't take each other's roles. In the same way, like, you cannot be the ultimate Chainsaw Man fangirl if you yourself are Chainsaw Man. And, I mean, Fujimoto does love Star Wars, and he loves, pop culture. I think he get a lot of mileage out of Chainsaw Man Lady, like, if it is Kobani, for instance, out of Makima, like, out of, like, really leaning into Makima as the fangirl who is screaming, Chainsaw Man can't be a lady, you've ruined the franchise, I hate it. You know, you raise a good point. Like, especially because they do have a contract. There's no real reason why that couldn't happen. Like, up until this point, everyone's been, like, most of the arcs have been, for good reason. Let's try and not have, the heart be ripped out of Chainsaw Man, because, he might die from it. But there's no reason why it can't be like, there's a tiny scrap of Denji still on there, and then he just reforms around the heart. I love the idea of Makima on Twitter screaming, I don't like the 2020 adaptation of Chainsaw Man. Yeah, the hit was specifically, like, take the heart out of Chainsaw Man. Like, they were trying to explicitly take his heart out, and they didn't quite succeed. Yeah. Like, there does seem to be this general understanding. And I do think that can also be remedied. Like, if we do learn that you can rip the heart out and he'll come right back, I think that'd be fine, because we also know the concept of the weapon humans has been erased from existence. Like, the fact that Makima can force herself to remember it, and the fact that, they still exist as a thing, is an aberration. But there's no reason why, the fine details about how they work can't, be wiped from existence. Plus, like, amongst all of those, it does seem like Chainsaw Man is different from all of them, even. Like, he is unique and special. So even if we say that the other weapon humans die if you rip out their hearts, it's completely possible that Chainsaw Man just doesn't work that way. We shall see. Overall, I think I have to rank this chapter slightly under Undead Unluck. Like, it was good, but, like, by the nature of the chapter, by the nature of it being this big old slugfest, like, I appreciate it for what it is, but what it is not quite as good as what was going on between our two main characters in Undead Unluck in the last chapter. That is Chainsaw Man. Guess we gotta move on. I always want to just stick around, but let's move on. Next is, oh no, it's loading. Dr. Stone, chapter 176. Senku Ishigami, Dr. Zeno, Stanley Snyder. These three have yet to be in the same place at the same time. There is a narrator to Dr. Stone, but I've never thought about what the narrator would sound like. Like, it can't be like the Fukumoto or Kaiji narrator. It can't be the Tonegawa narrator. I mean, I guess actually it should be Robo Senku. Like, I don't remember if the anime had any narration in it, but it did have Robo Senku for a bit, right? So I'd assume this would be, like, said out of universe by Robo Senku. Dr. Stone, Z equals 176, net-breaking battle plan. I assume this means, like, a literal net, like, the net you would use to catch fish, as opposed to, this battle plan is so incredible that it's going to break the internet. I can't fully agree with that, homie. Like, I do still like Dr. Stone quite a bit, but at the same time, I do, like, I know a lot of people feel the same way. Personally, like, this is what I wanted from the series. It's just, I wanted it to be even more sciencey more often, and I feel like you can see the cracks. Like, there are parts where Inagaki definitely, like, he's got the big bones. He's got the things that I really want to see in the series, but the fibers that hold it all together are a bit hit or miss. But at this point, like, we're not at, like, Central or Blue in, Food Wars. Like, we haven't had an arc yet that made me feel like those arcs in Food Wars, where I just thought, you know what, we should probably be over. Like, this feels like it's it. Which of these bikes would I want to be on? Luna's bike is a bit overcrowded. Taiju's bike is pretty dope, because Yakaseki there, but it's not a safe bike. Like, I trust Taiju to drive well enough, but also, like, he is a strong boy, not like a finesse boy. Like, it's gonna be a pretty bumpy ride. This bike's more of a safe, like, you're not going to be attacked on this one bike, but, and, like, we do have, like, this bike's actually a good combination of finesse and, like, protection. That might be up there. The bike with Zeno, I wouldn't want to be on because, like, presumably this is the bike that Stanley's going to be sniping. Like, you would think not, but I think that's going to be a big twist in this arc. I think it's going to, or like in this chapter even, I think the big twist is going to be, oh, you would assume that Stanley wouldn't try to shoot the bike that Zeno's on, but Zeno understands how good of a shot Stanley is. Like, they trust each other so much that Stanley would be willing to, like, fire a bullet right next to Zeno's head because he knows he won't hit him. So I think that one's too dangerous. Same with Senku's bike. I think, like, there's a powerful tactical advantage to taking out Senku's bike, so I wouldn't do that. Suika's bike, it's average, but not the best. So yeah, I guess I would say Yeah, this bike over here, I think, is the safest. Like, it's the best combination of Francois, I imagine, is a very good driver. Um, yeah, and you are, like, actually properly protected. Also, Chrome is there. Chrome is, you know what, I'm okay with it. I don't think Chrome's gonna help me tactically, but I think it's the best bike overall. Also, they are all baby bikes attached to one daddy bike, which is scary in its own way. Because yeah, that also makes me think that they're definitely going to try and snipe daddy bike. I can't imagine how wild it must feel to be driving one of these in the stone world. Like having maybe been on the like the big tank that they had for a while. But even that would feel nothing like this. Like these are rubber tires, and these bikes must be moving way faster. Like the tank had paper wheels. Like it was a very like we've got to drive it very carefully sort of vehicle. Whereas these are actual off-roading vehicles. I can't imagine the feeling of that speed combined with feeling all those bumps combined with like everything about that experience. Like it freaks me out when I am driving my car sometimes. Weigh in on this one. Do you think it's better or worse that Zeno's got like this, he's got like a log in his mouth, as opposed to like they had lots of bouncy balls. They could have made an actual ball gag for him, but I feel like using an actual ball gag would have been more problematic in a different way than this log. But the log's more phallic. I don't know which one is more sexual. I don't think I am qualified. They both feel very sexual in very different ways. I imagine this is one where Igaki said, they gag Zeno, Boichi, it's up to you. You get to choose which one of these is the least sexual. Okay. I mean, this is a really good plan as well. Because even Stanley was able to snipe through the boat, but that was by using a lot of, like calculations as to how this is going to work out, exactly where would Senku logically be. There's no logic to this. Like, they are moving around erratically. They're going for headshots. Oh my god. Stanley is such a beast. If we get a Stanley skin in Fortnite, I will start playing Fortnite. Look at this boy. Look at those cleats. It's such a strong look. I can't get over this look. I'm so curious to eventually see the Dr. Stone popularity poll, like a more recent one. Because where is Stanley gonna go? I could see him making top 5. He's so cool. Okay, what's the thought process here? Oh my god. Really? I mean, as is tradition in Shonen series, I assumed these bullets wouldn't hit anyone. I thought he was gonna like pop some tires or something. Especially in the stone world where, rubber isn't exactly, like, they literally just got rubber. Hitting the tires would be big enough for me to go like, wow, okay, he did some real damage. Oh, I didn't even think about it as their arms. But okay, so I guess we can also explain why these aren't, like, lethal wounds, if he was aiming for the arms specifically. No matter what trouble he's in, Zeno will be sure to give us some kind of signal. That's the kind of man he is. Yeah, Gumu, you're right. Because, yeah, like, we know that the Kingdom of Science isn't so heartless and pragmatic that they would just, like, throw the corpses away. But at the same time, I mean, to be fair, we don't know that. I'm not sure if Senku would or would not just throw away his companions' corpses. Like, in this kind of, like, life or death situation. Whereas injuring them does mean that they have to at some point stop and, patch him up. Actually, what is the suit made out of? Because they don't have rubber. But we do know that the American Kingdom was, like, they were trying to find things that they could use instead of rubber, but they didn't have rubber. And, like, latex is a type of rubber, right? Or, I mean, like, yeah, it is literally the same thing. So what is this suit made out of? Actually, I guess it could be plastic if they have plastic technology. But nothing else they make is plastic. What is this suit? That's the thing, like, it's so shiny. Also, what is this plan? Because my personal, like, if I were the writer of this arc, I would say that what Zeno was saying is, keep on following, but don't shoot. Or keep on following, we're going somewhere important. Like, I want to go where they're going. I think that'd be a good way to maintain the fear of the Kingdom of Science doesn't know what's happening, / they're going to head directly for the goal as quickly as possible because they're being chased. While at the same time, I think it would be a good way to maintain the tension of the arc. As soon as they get a plane flying over this desert, our chances of survival drop to 0. Do they have like a grenade of the stuff they used to stall the plane originally, like during the dogfights? Oh, okay. So what did they do specifically? Ah, classic sugar in the gas tank. Okay, cool. But okay, smart, smart. Is this going to like? Is this gonna stop them maybe, or is it just a like, wow, they barely missed us? Stanley too cute. Stanley is making me lose my mind. Okay, that's Dr. Stone. Good chapter. Boy, I mean, based on the way Dr. Stone moves, like, eventually the Americans are going to completely join the Kingdom of Science. Or, you know, if not literally that, they're going to have an alliance. Stanley's going to be an ally. He's probably going to be going with them to their next, like, destination, like, after this place. When that happens, I'm going to, like, I don't know if I can handle Tsukasa and Stanley in the same party. It's too hot. It also really helps that, like, Boichi has a problem with drawing women. Like, this isn't a surprise. He thinks that the hottest, the peak of sexual attraction is aliens. And I do think that Stanley being a guy and Boichi, I assume, not really like understanding that that Stanley is hot, but still knowing that he's a guy, allows him to craft this perfect look to me. Like it is like I would say that my favorite sexy Boichi character design is in the Terraformer spinoff with Asimov. Like I mean, Asimov is like, but he's very different. He's got the big bear energy, whereas Stanley has the like powerful androgynous energy. He can, depending on the scene, look very masculine or very feminine. He can be daddy or he can be mommy, but they're both gonna kill you.
No, I have no idea what's going on. I just glanced over as you had whatever the first page up was.
Yeah.
And I just heard you talking about you got this, you got this, you got this. I'm gonna tell you, if you told me they were all the same character,
Oh no.
I don't know if any were Senku, but they all looked like Senku.
Fair enough. Thanks for weighing in. I mean, I'm not gonna say Boichi doesn't have a same face problem.
Got the same body problem, almost the same face.
Yeah. Anyways, that Dr. Stone. I don't know what that accent was. I was going for something else and it came out bad. I apologize.
I would say Oda definitely does have the same face, same body problem, in which all of them kind of look the same. Boichi has everyone has a very similar face and similar body structure, and there's a lot of uniqueness in that. There's this one face that he has.
Sure.
Like, everybody is slightly muscular. There's no, is there anybody Dr. Stone that isn't slightly muscular?
I mean, Tsukasa's fairly, he's really muscular.
I mean, like, minimum.
I guess not. Like, the women, like the Sparkly sisters, for instance, we never really see their bodies.
Yeah, and even then, they have, like, the broadest, sort of, like, more muscular shoulders.
Yeah.
Like, he has a very specific base.
Yeah.
But he works within that.
Realistically, I think this is better than Black Clover, but not on the same level as We Never Learn. So, right there, like, almost in the middle, slightly above the middle. I think that's good. And, yeah. Like, I would also agree. Early Senku was very, very strong looking. Early Senku looked like he could punch Taiju out in a fight. Whereas now he's gone down to as minimally muscular as Boichi will allow, which is still much more fit than I am.
Yeah, I would say most of the times where Senku's drawn cartoonishly scrawny or whatever is when he's small, in a very, like, tiny paint.
Yeah, I think that's also it. Like, Boichi has a lot of, like, if this person is this chibi, then I'll draw them like this. If they are, like, very detailed, I'll draw them like this. Like, he's got different stocks, and different characters will appear in a, like, more detailed way than others more often, which makes me think of them as being way stronger or way more muscular.
Yeah, when Senku is very close up, he does not give off the vibe of getting exhausted after walking a couple feet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for the throwback, Senku. So, that's Dr. Stone. We have one more series. Let's not dilly-dally. I spent way too much time looking at my bank credentials in the middle of Jump. Please don't steal my money. Let's move on to...
As often as you forget to put up the chat and everything, that feels like the most dangerous thing you've ever done.
The recording has that, but the viewers at home don't. I'm gonna cut it out. Usually I have the AI handle it. I'm gonna do that myself. I'm gonna cut that part out myself. It was important. Anyways, speaking of potential doom to myself, let us move on to Oh no, it's still loading. My Hero Academia. Oh no. My Hero Academia, chapter 292, Threads of Hope, which is, I mean, pretty self-explanatory. We saw, I mean, we didn't 100% see him last chapter, but we all know it's Best Jeanist. I mean, there's a 1% chance that Bakugo somehow healed himself and he ran up into this plane and he styled himself to look the way he did after his internship with Best Jeanist, and now he's gonna jump out. But I'm fairly sure this is Best Jeanist. Okay, we did 100% see him. Okay. Let me just make sure. Oh yeah, I forgot the last panel was, as of today, Best Jeanist is back on duty. So I guess it's not ambiguous. Never mind. There is a 0% chance that this is secretly Bakugo. Oh no, crazy thermites. I'm lucky that I am small enough that I don't have the Twitch chat of 50 crazy thermites. But I think alternatively, the problem is that if there's like 5 or 7 of you in chat right now, that is, and 2 of you post crazy thermites, that is a solid 40% of the audience all posting crazy thermites. So if you think about it, it's actually a lot worse than some Twitch channels where they have like 1,000 people, but only 100 of them are posting the crazy Germa. I don't know streamers. Okay, I mean the big question is, it seems like Best Jeanist is. Like, he's saying you will not get your way today, but I don't know if he can stop this. He can stop the physical fights. Like, he can physically save Endeavor and Todoroki. But I don't think he can undo this damage, right? It's like, how in the world? Because we shall weave a thread of hope. Oh, the thread paneling is so good. Look at that. It does bother me a little bit that this is thread paneling, but then over here we have normal gutters. That feels a little weird. But I'm willing to live with this. Because I also do think that this looks more striking. Like the hard T made of thread. Like the hard right angles. I think if Horikoshi had these also be thread, it would look too silly. It would look too much like he's forcing it. Also, what in the world? I mean, we know Best Jeanist is an absolute beast. But how? Like, regardless of what these threads are made out of, like, seeing what Gigantomachia did, seeing how he rampaged, the idea that he can be pinned down at all is so bonkers. And Jeanist's also, like, grabbing all the villains while he's at it. What in the world? I mean, he might be the new #1 hero, so if so, this is one hell of a showing. Also, this outfit looks so good. Like, early Best Jeanist designs were more, I mean, it's still goofy-ish, like, because it's all denim. But this looks way better than he originally did. Like, he looks legitimately very cool here. You raised a good point, actually, yeah. Like, this isn't Gigantomachia going, like, filled with the unbelievable power of being given an order, of, following the will of all for one. This is Gigantomachia just kind of, being idle. Just kind of being a base. Now, we do have to explain that, though. What was that corpse? Like, there's been some wiggle room, but knowing Dabi, like, there's no way he wouldn't have made 100% sure, like, this is a dead body. So, how? I was briefly thinking, like, when we first saw the, Jeanist's body, that, oh, maybe that's someone acting, maybe that's, maybe that's just, like, a replica being made, like, maybe someone with someone, like, someone like Yaoyorozu made it, but I can't imagine Dabi not, like, taking a knife and opening up the corpse just to make sure, like, that it's all real. He's ghoulish enough, he's extreme enough that I think he would, at the very least, like, like, make sure it's not someone acting. I mean, to be fair, Best Jeanist is also very covered most of the time. Like, have we ever seen what his mouth looks like? Or has the world ever seen what his mouth looks like? There's enough there that I guess you could just, like, take a body that is reasonably fits, style the hair so it looks like Best Jeanist's hair, and you could probably get away with that. Like, as long as the hands and the upper part of the face looks good enough. And I guess also, like we know we have, like, Meatball Man, who can control flesh. If someone has a quirk that lets them, like, minimally change flesh, they could also take a body and make it look more like Best Jeanist. And yeah, so what if you're alive? That doesn't change the hard truths about my family's past. How do you handle this? Okay, no. That is that, like, sweat coming off of Jeanist? Because this looks a lot like this is just Jeanist saying drip, which is really, it's got powerful energy to it. It's a very streetwear energy panel. Okay, it's a nosebleed. There's so little nose there. Oh, but yeah, that is definitely a nosebleed. I feel like you can make it a little easier to see. Whatever, I'm down with it. He does have drip. I thought he was just styling on them. Okay, and yeah, so we were right. Like, Makia just needs an order. But Shigaraki's kind of, he's pretty down. Like, he's not completely, and he also has hyper regeneration. He's gonna be fine. But is he fine enough right now to say a word? Can he give an order? By the way, love Spinner. I mean, he certainly isn't in my top 5 of members of the League of Villains, but he's still good. Like, I respect his tenacity. I really hope she was able to shield herself with, these squiggles over here. I'm going to be legitimately pretty upset if Nejire is taken out like this. Because we really haven't seen much of her in this fight. Like, she's given off like 1 or 2 attacks. It's been okay. But, it's not like Lemillion. It's not like Sun Eater. We haven't had a true showing of why she's part of the big 3. We've just seen her be impressive. But there's like, if we don't get her back, like if we don't get a flashback with her, I'm going to be salty. I think that's it. And there's a lot going on in this arc, so I don't know if now is the time to see her backstory. But I want her to have the same standing as Mirio and I can never remember his name, but Sun Eater. I'm concerned. But then again, like Dobby's really leaning into this, and it would work it would work if the theme of this arc, or if the theme of this battle is Dobby's saying a whole lot of stuff, but also half of what he's saying is false. Like, Nejire does get back up. Best Genius what really was alive. If it is this, like, there is truth to what he said, but we're going to fight against him enough to make the public doubt it. Or to make the public, not completely sympathize with him. I mean, yeah, if the number 1 hero loses here, this whole country's done for. Also, love the shape of this panel. Like, it's not like Dobby's burning it. It's like the panels are made out of some sort of metal, and Dobby's rage and his power is so great that he is melting the page. Also, homie, I'm not totally on board with that one, but I do see where you're coming from. I do think that would be a pretty strong twist. Okay, you got it out, Makia. Destroy. Horikoshi's been going really hard with these reaction images. This is a good one. I've got to keep this one. Now I'll do it afterwards. This one's so good. Yeah, you're right. Like, I do think the combination of like her spirally energy and her horns and also like loose bandages wrapped around her would look really dope. I was really hoping for a little more from the high ends, or the partially worked with high ends. I'm hoping the anime does like an original fight scene with some of them, because it's not that they're bad, but they feel like they're just normal Nomu. This leech Nomu looks really good though. Like, it's a very understated design. I like it. Okay, someone's saving her, but who? I mean, yeah, he's way too far gone. Like, it is horrifying to, like, I get it from his perspective. Like, we've seen enough of his perspective. I get it. But at the same time, it is so chilling to hear him react, like, with not even a, like, it's sad, but he deserves it for living in the same house as Endeavor or something. It's so chilling that it is just, like, he interprets that as just a straight up, it's a shame because I would have wanted Endeavor to suffer even more. Like, it is... I recently rewatched Black Panther, and it has a similar energy of, like, someone who has good arguments and someone who has, like, who wants to do stuff that I do personally agree with on some level, but they've been so warped by their desire for revenge and by the methods they've chosen, like, by the path they have gone on. Like, the tragic part of it, I think, is not just the path, because that implies that, oh, you could have chosen a different path to, get revenge. It is this idea that the world is stacked against them, and there is one singular way that they can realistically go down in order to have some semblance of relief, some way to make the people who have made them suffer, suffer as they did. And the only way for that to happen is to do horrible things, to commit horrible crimes, to burn the world down. And by the time they get to the end, like, this desire has fundamentally changed them as a person to the point that they are like irreconcilably different. God, like it really does affect me so much more than if he was just a completely crazed villain. To know that there is the germ of something there that I do fundamentally agree with, but everything else around him is so monstrous. Okay, they got a little backup. Oh boy, how's Deku gonna be after this one? Because sure, like, if he uses his supplemental quirks, he should be able to get around the fact that his everything is broken. But, like, you can only do that for so long before even more permanent damage shows up in his body. Like, what's he gonna be after this? Nobody's been saved yet. Don't be the old worthless Deku who can't save anyone. I gotta cover Genis' back. It is also very humbling. Like, this arc, for a while, felt like it was, the final showdown between Deku and Shigaraki. Like, it felt like it was the Deku show. And it is really cool to see him be so sidelined. Like, he is this tiny bit player now, in terms of what is actively happening right now. And it is his choice. Like, he could pass out right now, and I wouldn't feel bad about it. Like, there's only so much a human body can realistically do. But to see that he is taking this all in, and he is willing to, to go plus ultra, to go beyond, because he needs to be the deciding factor here. Wait, what? Wait, what? Wait, what? That's a surprise. Hot damn. I mean, I guess they figured it out. Yeah, I didn't see it. 100%. Like, I figured if this was gonna happen, it would be like in a few years in universe. Like, not just in another arc. I thought it was going to be like, if we eventually do a time skip or something, like maybe then he'll be back in action. But I was not like, how in the world? I mean, I know how. Sorry, that is like definitely airy. Combined with, like, I imagine it must have been a bit of a risk. Like, there's no way she has enough control over her quirk to do this safely. That's also possible. Like, if it is she can temporarily reverse him back to, full fighting power, like the peak of how he was, like, pre-Hasakai arc, but now, but then he'll go back. Because presumably, like, if it is I mean, it depends on how her powers work. Like, they are very ambiguous. But if it is a literal rewinding, then I could see it being, like, I could see her having the ability to revert his quirk factor to the state it was in, but then eventually it will get to a point where the bullet hit him. Like, the same events will apply to the quirk factor, but you can temporarily make it not be that way. But no, there's no way. Because if that was how her powers worked, then at some point Deku's body should explode, because she was constantly, like, reversing all the damage that Deku was taking during the Chisaki fights. So no, it has to be permanent. But yeah, that is so clever, Horikoshi. Wow. I do think also, like, it would be an interesting statement, like, because Hero Society is going to be pretty messed up after this. I could see Lemillion working really well as the temporary new number one. Like, if they pay off that foreshadowing and they just straight up say, you know what, we're going to purge the current top 10, like, the people's trust in heroes has been eroded, we're going to bring in some fresh boys, and Mirio just immediately becomes number one. Because, like, Lemillion has... This is going to be a weird one. I've been talking about my favorite ships, like, not in a, like, actual character sense, but in, like, my ideal, like, what would my ultimate ship be? And I'm very much into the heel sluts dynamic. I can't explain all of that right now. Basically, you got like, in a lot of MOBAs especially, but also in a lot of games in general with a team factor, you got the heel sluts, you got the DPS brats, and you got the tank daddies, where, like, heel slut is someone who is submissive and they do a lot of, like, buffing as well as healing. DPS brat is like Bakugo, like, just straight up Bakugo, just someone who does a lot of damage per second, and they're very cocky and they're, very volatile. And then Tank Daddy is someone who, it feels like they are, like, not that they're invincible, but someone who can take a lot of damage and they have this powerful, reassuring energy to them. Like, All Might is the ultimate Tank Daddy. Anyone who can turn to you and say, everything's going to be okay. Why? Because I'm here. Like, that is the ultimate Tank Daddy energy. And I do think Mirio has that. I do think, without anyone knowing about him, I think he could be the number one hero, and I think the public would accept it. Like, he has that radiant power. He is the kind of person where, I mean, like, he's a little goofy, but at the same time, I think he's someone that the public could believe in. Or someone that the public could look at and say, you know what? Not all heroes are this awful. I could genuinely see it. But realistically, I don't think there's going to be a top 10. I think Hero Society is going to crumble after this arc. And heroes will still exist. And I think there is a space there. Like, I think Lemillion might be the new unofficial number one. But I don't think there will be a number one slot. And also, like, I'm not saying that Kamui Woods or Ryuku are bad or like wash. I think that like society, like Japan, I think Japan's going to be really shaken up about the entire system as a result of this. Like people were so shaken by Stain, and this whole Toya incident is Stain times a million. I think ideally, like, all the good heroes that are acting should still be around. I think, the hero, like, I think people who want to do good should still be doing good. But I do think the entire hero system needs a lot of reform. And at this point, I don't know if the public's going to be okay with, like, I don't know what levels of the system the public's going to be okay with after this. I could definitely see that. Like, One Punch Man, especially, like, what I've seen of the webcomic, I'm not caught up right now, so I won't, and also I know a lot of you guys aren't caught up as well. Or a lot of people are like Murata only, whatever. I do think that, like, some of the stuff we're seeing in modern One Punch Man could glean over into My Hero. My Hero has been from the start much more invested in the idea of hero society and what is the world like if people have quirks randomly or if everyone has quirks. Whereas One Punch Man has been more of a, like, this is a weird exceptional thing and they're all very wacky and out there. Like, the systems are so fundamentally different. And, like, regardless of what happens, I'm excited to see what Horikoshi decides to do as a result. I could see that. Like, this is not a good place for Shigaraki to go down. Like, after the way in which this arc has played out, I feel like the big climax has to happen some other time. Enough damage has been done. And yeah, the League of Villains should strike while the iron's hot, but at the same time, like, I think we can say pretty certainly that Shigaraki ain't doing so good. / if they leave him alone, he can try to heal himself. He can try to go from, his incomplete status into a more complete self before they try again. Yeah. I think it makes sense on both sides for there to be a retreat and a long, like, let's look at the world arc. So that is My Hero. Good chapter. Not as good as last chapter, though. But I mean, high standards. Like, this whole arc has been fire. There's been some highs, there's been some lows, but overall, like, I'm so in awe that Horikoshi's been able to, basically since the Class 1A versus 1B arc, I think that was, like, the lowest point the series has been at in a long time. Everything after that point has been exactly what I would want for My Hero Academia. Or if not exactly, like, it's been the stuff I really like. So, I just, fingers crossed that he can keep on being good. I hope that he's not overworking himself. If someone drives a bus into Shueisha headquarters, I hope Horikoshi's not there. Fingers crossed. That didn't make any sense. Whatever. Dr. Stone is, I'll put this above Dr. Stone, below We Never Learn. Yeah, because I'd say this is my top 3, like, this is a solid top 3. I really loved Undead Unluck. Thought Chainsaw Man was very visceral, very strong, very good chapter. We Never Learn was quite emotional. And yeah, everything else has been solid. So, those are all the series. Gonna hit those author comments. If you don't like author comments and you love manga, you can dip out now. It's good. Don't worry, I won't be offended. Author comments. Renovating my studio will increase my efficiency. Believe me, don't hit me. What is happening to Gege Akutami? Does he need help? Is Shueisha holding him at gunpoint? It hurts not being able to respond, but thank you so much for all the letters and gifts. Like, what fame is right now is so wild. Like, it does blow my mind that in the past, like, fame was at a level where you could be a celebrity and you could, like, read every bit of fan mail and respond to all of it. Whereas now, like, just due to the nature of the world, it is too much, even for, the mangaka of Magu-chan. Like, I mean, then also, I'm taking that as he physically can't respond to everything. But it might also be if, like, Shueisha doesn't want you to respond casually. I think that would make sense, actually. Like, if they want to more closely monitor the way in which mangaka interact with fans. That can't be the case, though. Boichi has his YouTube channel, and that's definitely not Shueisha approved. Someone is sending me fan mail every week, and it really keeps my spirits up. But don't push yourself too hard. These two comments are so powerful in tandem with one another. Also, I am surprised that Kentaro, like, he's such a big mangaka. I'm surprised he's noticed a singular person that keeps on sending in fan mail. This really seems like it is the we're getting lots of cool stuff author comment section. Apparently, current engines have great fuel gauges and should be able to handle even sugar water. I still wouldn't risk it, though. Like, even if it's great, it's physics, right? Like, by the very nature of a combustion engine, like, squishing down the fuel and making it very hot and making it explode. In the same way, there should be no way that you can put sugar in there and not have it... I mean, it might not completely destroy the engine now, but it's still not good. I watched Baby Yoda on the SpaceX flight with astronaut Soichi Noguchi. Baby Yoda was definitely floating because of the Force. What is happening? Baby Yoda on the SpaceX flight is a very 2019 mood. It's not a 2020 mood. 2020 mood is Baby Yoda crashed into the ground and blew up an entire country. But this is some peak 2019 energy. If someone asks your weight, it'll sound cooler to just bring up a soccer player who has the same weight. That's a good life hack, actually. I said I wanted an awesome mansion, and they did it. I'm so grateful to my staff. I assume that this is his assistants drawing an awesome mansion. But all I can envision in my mind is his assistants going out and buying a mansion for him. I was imagining him like on his phone walking up to his apartment, and then he looks up and it is a giant mansion. Thank you very much, homie and Gumu, for clarifying. I keep putting my kids to sleep and then falling asleep till morning. It's bad for getting my pages done, but super refreshing. I've been staying up for way too long as of late. And it is like, it's the classic trap of I stay up too late one day, so then I sleep in, and then I wake up too late the next day, and then I have to, pack in a day's worth of stuff, which means I'm up until late, and then the cycle repeats. I do need to commit more to, like, I have to do it slowly is the thing. I'm the kind of person who wants to say, like, well, if I'm staying up till 3 a.m., I just gotta start going to sleep at 12. But realistically, I should just be paring it back like 10 minutes every day until I'm at 12. Because also, like, right now I don't have a job, so I do have some variance there. Like, it's not gonna mess me up if I do it slowly, as opposed to, like, a job where I would have to just commit to doing it all of a sudden one day. Who's Tetsuya Chiba? I feel like I've heard this name before. Oh, he's the Ashita no Joe mangaka. Oh, wow. If I hadn't watched my dad drinking Budweiser as a kid, this manga might have been really different. Really? I mean, does he mean this chapter, or is he saying something like, I could definitely see it being that the vision of his dad drinking Budweiser is, like, a big part of Andy's masculinity or something. I could definitely see it being taken in that direction, but I don't want to assume too much. My assistant who mains Min Min has made it into VIP mode. What terrifying talents. I feel like Moraking's going to end someday, not because the editorial staff has said, like, you have 3 more chapters, then you're done. I think it's going to end because eventually Hasegawa is going to be... Either Hasegawa or his assistants are going to get so good at Smash that they're going to quit manga and just go into full-time Smash competitions. Okay, that is Weekly Shonen Jump for the week of November 29th, 2020. Fantastic. Just good Jump. Jump is great. I love Jump. Not a big fan of Shueisha, but I'm a fan of Jump. Jump good. I'm not doing getter reactions. I mean, once I'm done other stuff. I mean, granted, I might not be able to do Dorohedoro anymore. Like, I'm a little scared to do redirects, like, in the way I do them, because they are cheeky. Like, I do Weekly Shonen Jump redirects under the knowledge that Viz is not, like, Viz has the rights, Shueisha has the rights, but they're not going to check my description. Whereas I did have a conversation with the people who took down my Dorohedoro video. Like, it is a very intentional, we know you do this, we're going to take down these videos, we're going to strike your channel if you don't take them down. So... that might increase the number of Sobote reactions I put out. Because I might just have to back away from Dorohedoro or just, like, make them a Discord exclusive or something. But yeah, so once I remove a few more series from my platter, like, if I do a little more Fire Punch and stuff, I might do some Getter. Thank you very much for your suggestions, by the way. You are, I'd say, one of the biggest fountains of Gar in the server. I would say the ultimate fountain of Gar is Eyebrow Scar. She is peak Gar, but homie, you're up there. We'll see. Fingers crossed. I mean, I remember a lot of people did like, like it seems like a lot of the stuff people uploaded around Devilman was fine, so maybe it'll be okay. Maybe it'll be okay. We'll see. Gona Guy also has his own studio. Maybe he's not litigious. We'll see. We'll see. But anyways, thank you all so much for watching. Seriously. Bye for now. Yeah, yeah.